with Zach Wheeler and Spencer Turnbull both having no-hitters into at least the sixth inning in those two back-to-back games, they were the first two Phillies pitchers to do that since the expansion era in 1961. After Saturday's win, since ERA became an official stat in both leagues in 1913, only one MLB team has had its starters combined for 40 or more strikeouts with an ERA of 0.25 or lower over a 5-game span, and that was the Phillies. Unbelievable. And frankly, the next two games with Nola and Suarez, they may not have been able to hold that particular statistic up, but still stacking great starts one on top of the other. So my question is, and I already told you, over the last 7 games, a 0.53 ERA from these guys. The Phillies rotation, Justin, is pitching better than the 2011 super rotation ever did. Bull or Bowa?
So the question is the entire rotation versus the entire rotation.
That's
okay.
The question.
Then yeah, I think it's Bowa. I do. Now, like, the caveat there is no one in the current Phillies rotation will ever be as good as Roy Halladay. And I would say Cliff Lee, that's probably more comparable to the level of which like a Zach Wheeler is, or a guy who looks utterly dominant, but Halladay was just on another planet. His Hall of Fame complete phenom, just a different kind of thing. I want to make that clear. But in that 2011 season, Roy Oswalt missed a lot of time. Actually, I feel like he was not around very long for most of that season. Joe Blanton, I think, got hurt. Vance Worley was in the rotation. Was
the main guy,
but he came up and he looked awesome. He was great. He led the league and called third strikes, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
So that's not coming down on the legend status of that rotation and some of the guys individually in it. Well, all of the guys individually in it. But this current rotation, the difference here is that they're getting top to bottom results with consistency from all of these guys. You keep expecting Christopher Sanchez to, he gives up a couple runs early. You're like, well, okay. But then he settles in. And then 5-6 innings later, you're like, those are the only runs he gave up. He gave up scattered 5 hits, has 8 or 10 strikeouts. You're like, this is our number 5 starter. Like, this is not the guy you're supposed to, rely on to get you deep into a game. This is just a guy filling a spot on most teams. So the 1 through 5 comprehensive success that the Phillies are able to get from this team, from this rotation, where it just feels like any one of these guys could show up and be a stopper on most days. Maybe there's just descending amounts of potential for that to happen when you go guy to guy. But right now, it seems like nobody's pitching better, and just the comprehensiveness of their success kind of puts them apart from, I think, even that 2011 rotation.
And I'll say Bowa as well. Now, what I will say is I think Zach Wheeler is pitching as well as Roy Halladay did during that 2011 campaign. And I think Cliff Lee is another Zach Wheeler. So they had 2 Zach Wheelers at the top of their rotation, and the Phillies have one. I think like a Cole Hamels and Aaron Nola are pretty similar comparisons. You get based on skill set and kind of the results. They both would struggle with the long ball sometimes. They'd have little streaks where it was kind of rough sailing for them. But so I kind of equate Nola and Cole Hamels a little bit there. But Ranger Suarez, I think the big key with this 2024 rotation is how good is Ranger Suarez, right? Like, how is he going to be another ace in the middle of the rotation? He's pitching like one now. He's pitching like a Cy Young contender. He's pitching like a guy who's certainly going to go to the All-Star game. Really, all 4 Philly starters are pitching like they're going to go to the All-Star game. But Ranger Suarez has had the best season out of any of them so far. I mean, you have this consecutive inning streak going right now, 25 straight scoreless innings for Ranger Suarez. It's the longest scoreless inning streak by a Phillies pitcher since Cliff Lee threw 30 2/3 scoreless innings from August 17th to September 10th, 2011. So you have Ranger Suarez pitching like peak Cliff Lee right now, essentially, is what we're looking at. And it's the honest truth. If you're just, now the question is, can he keep doing it? Can he keep pitching like this? It certainly looks sustainable. Like he's throwing an easy 92, 93 miles an hour, and his game is his command of his breaking stuff, and it's all working for him right now. It'll go away a little bit at a certain point, but I think right now they're all pitching. The 24 Phillies are pitching better than the 2011 Phillies pitched at any point during that incredible 2011 season. Of course, staying power is going to be the big key here. And we don't really know what Ranger Suarez will ultimately finish the year looking like. But if Ranger Suarez pitches like Cliff Lee did in 2011, which is what we've seen so far, this rotation will, I think, end up at the end of the day being better. Through 22 games, through the first 22 games, the 2011 rotation had a 3.41 ERA. This one has a 2.25 ERA. 2.61 FIP for the 2011 team, 3.11 for the 2014 team. So the fielding independent pitching was better for 2011. They were a little bit better in Fangraphs wins above replacement as well. But the strikeout to walk ratio is the same. 2011 team had a 1.13 WHIP. This group has a 0.96 WHIP. And the 2011 group had a 238 batting average against. The 24 starting rotation, a 188 batting average against through the first 22 games, not including the Monday night game. So it's fun to watch. We'll see how it all shakes out. But right now, I think this rotation is pitching every bit as good as that 2011 rotation did. Really incredible to watch.